Welcome everybody to the new era of the Beautiful Futures Lab. I'm just going to start from the beginning, I guess, and that is to say that Oika is this philosophy. I think of it as like a way of being in the world that is grounded in ecological dynamics. And I don't. When I say ecological, most people think that I mean, nature, the stuff that's outside the door, outside the window, the birds, the grass, the trees, the sky. But ecology doesn't just stop there. Ecological dynamics, in fact, I think I've discovered that they extend all the way back to the Big Bang and beyond. Like this whole universe is built on ecological dynamics. And here's a crazy thing, because our thoughts, because the inner narrative that's going on behind our eyes somewhere, that's part of the universe too. It's ecological in nature. Everything in nature, and even the things we don't think of as like nature, like this phone, everything that emerges in the universe emerges through a relational dynamic. And I can prove it. I can tell the story. There's a story here on the back on my wall. That's the story of us. This is the Earth story thing right here. And I could point to rocks up there or fossils that indicate what was going on in the minds of the organisms. The very simple, primitive minds, but the way that organisms move through the environment is guided by something more than just muscular, propulsion, more than just the current of the water they're in. There's another force that's compelling things to move and things to happen. And in many cases, that thing that's compelling is also changing the organism, which means the organs of perception that organisms inherit, they inherit through a relational dynamic, an ecological dynamic with the world. So the world, the earth, before there was humans, was actually shaping the kind of consciousness that primitive organisms had. And so my point is this, that when I talk about the ecological dynamics in the way we think and the way we perceive and the way we identify, there's really good scientific evidence for how this came to be. And that's why I'm constantly referring back to this story, because the story is constantly affirming what it is I'm trying to say. Like I'm trying to show people that our minds, not just our bodies, but our minds and our bodies are deeply entangled with the natural world from which we spring. And knowing that, I just don't see it as common knowledge. And I'm trying to make it common knowledge, because when you know this, you tend to inhabit a different world than the one we're inhabiting right now. You tend to inhabit a world that's full of amazing stories and beautiful relationships. There's treachery, there's catastrophe. Yeah, there's like death and destruction. But there's also this beautiful narrative, this narrative of creative life force also operating. And we as human beings have inherited the capacity to participate in the creative life force part. Like we can choose to participate in it, but we often choose to participate in something else. And the accumulations of those something else's are what's bringing us into this existential crisis that everybody feels. And so my proposal is that for some of us who are open and willing and have the bandwidth, frankly, to learn this story and to see how it's our story, when you do that and when you understand it as an ecologist does in the terms of the relational dynamics that create, when you understand that, not only do you tend to inhabit that relational field that's seemingly out there, when you extend your identity out into the world in this way, it also extends itself into you in a way. And what comes with that, what comes packaged with this reciprocal relationship, is the intelligence itself, the intelligence of nature represented by this story, right? Suddenly that becomes accessible to you, whether you're an artist or a writer or a musician or a lawyer or a politician. Suddenly that creative life force, that intelligence that's created all of this, you suddenly have this kind of, not, I wouldn't say suddenly, but you eventually start to recognize that that intelligence is in you and that you can tap into it for whatever your endeavor is. And that doesn't mean you have to be writing about it or or talking about it. It's more that you feel it working through you in a way to do whatever it is. And when you do that, when you actually align with the creative life force of nature that creates, that becomes your creativity, and it's by default in right relation. You see, like, there's a thing that happens here. This is my crazy proposal: is that human beings, being organisms that we are, who have evolved on this earth, we're entitled to relate to that intelligence, the intelligence of the earth. We're entitled to relate to the whole intelligence of the cosmos, if that's your thing. And the side effect, there's a medicinal aspect to this that I think needs to be acknowledged, which is that when you feel this, when you participate in it, and when it affirms itself through the reciprocity of the creativity, man, you feel like you belong to something. That sense that you're not alienated from the world, it heals, and it feels good, and it's attractive, and the more you feel it, the more it shows itself, that the more you can participate in it, and it becomes this a reciprocal opening relationship with the creativity of nature. And I think we have forfeited this for many reasons that we can talk about: accidents of history, just bad decisions. And by the way, bad decisions come from wrong relation. This is the other thing I'm learning every day. When you're in wrong relationship with something, you tend to make bad decisions. When you're in right relationship with something, you tend to make good decisions. And there's a way to discern what's right and what's wrong. I'm not dictating what's right and wrong. I believe nature dictates what's right and wrong. And the accumulation of wrong decisions lead to the crisis that we're in. But the way that you can discern right relation is you can feel it. You can feel it actually. You feel it through a sense of joy, beauty, belonging. That's the function of these things in the universe. When when a thing is right and beautiful, it survives, and that's why we're here, because of the rights and the beautiful things that have happened in our ancestry all the way back, that have brought us here. We wouldn't be here if we weren't the recipients of a long lineage of right relations made by our ancestors, not just our human ancestors, but but the animals, the mammals, the reptiles, the bacteria. There's been a right relationship made by every one of our ancestors. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. So I think it's worth understanding this, because it's powerful medicine, and it has something to show us. There's a wisdom that you can access, not just intelligence, but a wisdom that I think will be helpful. And if we as creators of culture understand this and take it seriously, not only will we live more fulfilling, beautiful, happy lives ourselves, like there's a mental health aspect of this where like you can feel it, it's a therapeutic thing, but also collectively, if we can manifest this thing in whatever small way through our own participation in it, through our own creative output, our own endeavors, projects, research, then we'll be contributing to the beautiful future. So that's kind of the spiel.